I was finishing up my time as a drill instructor. It's really only a 3-year tour.
Good morning. So, I wasn't expecting to talk about this morning. You watch this channel, you realize that, I don't know, maybe three things are of great importance to me, and everything else is kind of just sidebar, side detail. I'm really truly not a details guy, and I can find details boring, but I do like paying attention and observing. I do like the how it works part. So my intention was to be goofy and to be funny, and as I'm getting ready for work and my kids are getting ready for school, I grab my son's, he's 13, and I grab my son's Star Wars t-shirt and I put it on, and I wanted it to be way too small and way too tight, and then I was going to be like, how you like my new shirt, bro? Problem was, it fit. And I'm like, one, that ruined the joke, and two, now when I say it fit, it went on me, it went around my arms, it went around my chest, but it stopped just barely above my belt. It wasn't long enough. I'm still a good bit taller than my 13-year-old, but his shirt fit, and that surprised me. It's not what I expected, which is what inspired today's talk. Men, if you have sons and you are not raising those sons, if you're not teaching those sons, and I am not going to tell you, you have to go and do, XYZ. You can raise a man, you can raise a boy to a man, and you never, ever have to go camping. You can raise a boy to a man, and you can go camping 5,000 times. It's not the camping that makes the man. It's not teaching them to back a trailer. It's not teaching them to whatever. If you if you can't teach your son to be a man, in that he knows when it's okay to laugh at the mildly off-colored joke, and when it is absolutely not okay to disrespect his mother, then you're probably getting it mostly right. But I said that really, really poorly. I really did. I hope whoever's listening to this understands the heart of what I'm saying, because the words of what I'm saying aren't great. I've got a daughter and 2 boys. My daughter is absolutely an extrovert. My boys, probably more introvert, but they themselves are markedly different. The 13-year-old, he is not going to be friends with everybody. He's not one to have just conversation. He dives deeply into his audiobooks. He dives deeply into, I hate it. It aggravates me. I don't think it's as much of a problem as sometimes people say it is. But he does dive deeply into his video games. But he's fully enveloped in the story. He's very, very much into the story. And at church, he's got three friends, and he'll even say, from time to time, he'll say, well, there's A and B, and C, but C's kind of aggravating, and I put up with him because there's history, but he ain't my favorite anymore. And then he'll admit that between A and B, A is one that he can trust, but A is not going to be, he lives in his own little bubble as well. And then B, he's just, whatever. Like, I don't think there's a lot there. So with my 13-year-old, very, very close to the vest, very, very slow to make a friend, and that friend has to be, a deeper connection. It has to be a slow, trust-building thing. It's not just, hey, both of us like Zelda, we're friends now. No, he ain't like that at all. Now, his being an introvert, the 13-year-old being an introvert, is funny because he doesn't want to spur of the moment have a conversation. He doesn't want to spur of the moment get up in front of a crowd and teach something. But when it comes to performing and acting, if there's a play, or if there's a musical, or if there, whatever, and he has the opportunity to audition and get the part and practice the part, he's gonna kill it. He loves that. So he loves to perform, he loves to entertain, but he's not a spur of the moment, just jump up in front of people and talk. But at least he does perform. The 11-year-old, also more of an introvert, absolutely not an entertainer. He doesn't want to be on stage at all. And he's got that one or two friends. Yesterday I pick up the 13-year-old from play practice. He's sitting at a picnic table just outside the school, and he hadn't been sitting there long. I pull up right at 5 when practice is over, and he's sitting with these two little girls, and I see a little bit of back and forth go on, and I see smiles go on, and I'm like, okay, so he's not like horribly awkward and completely shunned. He can have a conversation with a person, and I'm like, so hey, who's those two you were sitting with? And he's like, friends. And I'm like, oh, okay, you got some new friends? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, what were their names? And he's like, oh. And I'm like, Lucas. I'm like, dude, you want to have more friends, make an effort to learn some people's names. He's like, yeah, I just suck at learning names. It takes me a long time, and I usually just forget them. And I'm like, I get it. Like, I get that he just doesn't care to learn their names. Probably because he doesn't trust. But I tried to explain to him that learning their names wasn't going to hurt him, you know, and he can learn their names and offer that olive branch of friendship, which is dangerous, because when you offer, you know, yourself to be someone's friend, then you're you know, you're risking ridicule and rejection sometimes. So I get that. But he's like, yeah, whatever, you know. And I'm like, dude, you're in this play, you're practicing this play with all these people. You're spending all this time, you know, you're spending a couple of hours, 3-4 days a week with these kids practicing how to perform this production, and you're not even learning their names. And that, you know, that's weird to me. To him, he's like, yeah, I'm good with it. I feel like I'm really off track right here, because I'm supposed to be talking about raising boys to become men. All right. And I said that you didn't have to teach them to do manly stuff to teach manhood. I think that's true. I also think that part of teaching manhood is teaching manly stuff. Now, that don't mean that you constantly have to be out there doing the carpentry and doing the welding and doing the, you know, picking up the heavy stuff and, you know, fixing your own stuff, whatever, blah, blah, blah. For me right now, from Amazon, I am waiting on a tension spring for my garage door. My garage door will not go up and down right now because the spring is broken. And I posted on Facebook, I'm like, look, I would rather die than pay a service technician that knows what he's doing to come out here and replace this spring. You know, and it all comes down to, I don't want to give a service technician $400 to put on a spring that Amazon sells for $75. Now, the service technician, you know, is going to say, well, I've got overhead and I've got, dude, I don't care. Amazon told me how to figure out what size of spring I needed. I figured out what size of spring I needed. I ordered it. I took the old one off. So putting the new one on is going to be the reverse of taking the old one off. I need to teach those things to my son, because eventually he will be a homeowner. Eventually he will have to deal with the same crap. Now, it will not make him less of a man if he's like, screw that, you know, I'm paying somebody to do that. That's fine. If that's what he wants to do, great, go for it. You know, if you're okay with that, go for it. I just don't like paying for nothing. That was part of what was raised. That's part of, you know, my dad on Facebook, you know, sends a comment about the garage door spring. Just call somebody and fix it. I don't want you getting hurt. And I'm like, Dad, when I was about Lucas's age, you had me in the garage fixing your broken spring. And he's like, yeah, I know, but I don't want you getting hurt now. And I'm like, all right, well, no promises. And it's just funny to me because, you know, the people that taught me to prefer to die than pay somebody else to do it, now that they've gotten to retirement age and they're like, nah, yeah, we're not doing that no more. And it's like, no, just pay somebody. Yeah, you don't want to, let somebody else risk getting hurt. And I'm like, it's hilarious to see how that has changed. But ultimately, as I walk through this process of how do I raise these two boys to become men, I get that it is a process of me doing the things that I feel like they need to grow up and do, because they are going to copy me, whether they want to admit it or not, whether the world wants to admit it or not, whether I want to admit it or not. A couple weeks ago, we were snow skiing. I always snow ski with a backpack on. Not because I like skiing with a backpack on, but because I'm cheap. That backpack's full of sandwiches and water, and food on top of a ski slope is like, like if you go to the cafeteria to the ski slope and you go in there and you like smell the food, they'll charge you about $18 for smelling it. It's ridiculous. And you know, so I got bottles of water and sandwiches in this backpack, and I kid you not, without being told to, without being encouraged to. Matter of fact, one of them I encouraged them not to, and on both of my boys, at least one of those days, I saw them toting a backpack while they were skiing. And I'm like, dude, what you got your backpack for? Oh, I need to keep my water bottle in it. And I'm like, I already got bottles. And yeah, I know, but I need to carry mine. They were copying me. And they are always going to copy me. Now, I am pushing up against, I'm not far from 50. And to this day, from my childhood until now, basically 100% of the time, when I see a dirt bike or a four-wheeler that I don't have, I'm like, I want that one. I like, to the core of my soul, I see a really cool dirt bike going down the interstate in somebody's truck, and I'm like, I want one of those. I want one of those. I want one. And I asked my son, I'm like, you know, I pointed at a dirt bike going down the interstate, and my brain is screaming, I want that. I want that. And I asked my son, I'm like, hey, what'd you think about them dirt bikes? And he's like, yeah, all right. And I'm like, would you like to have them? And he's like, yeah, it wouldn't be cool. I mean, he's like, it wouldn't be bad. And I'm like, but would you be okay not having them? He goes, you know, I mean, he goes, it'd be fun to ride, but, you know, whatever. And I'm like, how is that okay? Like, the boy isn't moved at his core to, you know, to want these dirt. Like, I'm like, that machine could kill me. I must have it. And he's kind of like, yeah, it'd be all right to ride. And I'm like, you know, what the heck? So they're not, I get, they're not going to be who I am. Boats are the same way. Dirt bikes and boats, yeah, take my money. I am friggin', I told a girl at work the other day, because I was talking about, you know, wanting 3 other boats than the ones I already have. And she's like, well, you mean you need more? And I'm like, I ain't never filed a harassment claim, but if you keep telling me I don't need more boats, we're going to HR. That is not okay. You leave my boats alone. Don't be harassing me like that. Not good. But yeah, men, your boys are going to copy you. So, if you want your boys to disrespect women, then disrespect them yourself. If you want your boys to be slobs, be a slob yourself. If you want your boys to be dirty, don't follow up behind them. Don't tell them, hey, you smell bad, go take a shower. And you don't have to be a jerk about it. You don't have to be mean about it. But you do want to be honest about it. You do want to look at your son and be like, bro, I can smell your feet from here. You know, like my 11-year-old took his shoes off in the truck, and I'm like, who took their shoes off? I'm like, there is a faint smell in here, and my son is like, not saying a word. He's just silent. And then I think my daughter was like, Luke, you know what? The 11-year-old took his shoes off, and I'm like, brah, seriously? And he's like, what? So then later, you know, I'm like, dude, you're 11. You are going to shower daily. And then I got real specific, and I'm like, when you're in the shower, you're going to scrub A and B and C. I didn't say A and B and C. I got specific, you know. And I'm like, and when you're scrubbing your feet, I'm like, you're going to take it between each toe, you know. And I'm like, dude, it's yours. You wash it, and I'll know it's been washed cleanly and completely if I can stand next to you and not smell it. And then, of course, he thought that was hilarious. But it was not crude, but yet specific enough for him to get it in his 11-year-old dense brain. You're going to be a man, and you're going to teach your boys to be men. Don't classroom teach them. Lead by example. Lead from the front. And then take a really, really good look at yourself and say, am I a good man? And if you say, oh man, I'm a great man, then you need to worry, because you're probably a heck of a lot worse in everybody else's mind than the legend you are in your own mind. Because pride cometh before a fall, and if you think you're great, then I promise you, there's a whole heap of other people that think you're great too. Now, if that pisses you off, good. You needed to hear it. Hopefully you'll take something. Hopefully you'll take it somewhere and do something with it. But if you wake up every day, you honor God openly in your home. You tell your children about Jesus. You love your wife in front of your kids. And you're consistently there. Then I guarantee you, whoever you are and whatever you are, in a whole heap of ways, your boys are going to grow up to be you. And, wow. So the interstate just went from 3 to 2 lanes real quick, and the people that were driving in the left 2 lanes all decided they were the most important, and they didn't want to slow down and get over. I got hairy for a second. Sorry about that. But, yeah. You are mentoring your boys, whether you like it or not, and whether you know it or not. So, you know what kind of douchebaggery you can't stand? don't exemplify that douchebaggery to your boys, because they're going to copy it. They're going to do it. Hey, that's all I got this morning. And you know how this ends. Y'all be safe.